Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. Readings from Buddhadhamma, picking up where then Ajahn Panyo left off. So page 918, partway through the section on practice free from suffering. Another way of describing the proper relationship to happiness is to focus on four main factors of spiritual practice. 1. Heedfulness. This factor applies to everyone. It is an important reminder because happiness induces fascination, captivation, procrastination, inertia, laziness, and carelessness. One thus needs to take care not to fall into heedlessness. History shows us that almost every successful person, family, society, nation, or even civilization, having reached a level of prosperity and growth, tends to become indulgent and careless, and eventually falls into ruin and destruction. This is a crucial issue for families, and parents must take great care. Even the supreme virtue of loving kindness can be excessive, in the case when parents pamper and pander to their children, and do not apply equanimity, upekkha, as a balancing force. Eventually their children become weak, careless, indulgent, emotionally stunted, and unable to face the challenges of life. The family will consequently be undermined and ruined. This is also true for individuals. At first one may strive to establish oneself in the world, yet when one is wealthy and happy, one may become indulgent and heedless, eventually falling into decline. In sum, one should beware against carelessness in regard to states of happiness. 2. Taking favorable opportunities. When one encounters suffering, one generally feels oppressed, stifled, and obstructed. Everything one does feels difficult, and great effort is required. The advantage to this sense of obstruction and difficulty, however, is precisely because of the need for increased effort in the face of suffering. As a result, there is learning, training, and development. When one acts appropriately in response to suffering, one grows and reaches great success. The Pali term sukha, happiness, can also be translated as fluent, smooth, convenient, or easy. When things are convenient, smooth, and easy, one should hasten to accomplish necessary deeds. When one experiences happiness, one should use this valuable opportunity for getting things done. Using this opportunity to act is better than allowing happiness to lure one into a trap of enchantment and fixation, which only leads to indulgence and heedlessness. With the assistance by firmly established wisdom, one goes in the opposite direction of using the opportunity provided by happiness to strive to get things done. This generates even greater spiritual growth and development. One who is developed in this way is able to derive benefit from both happiness and suffering. Indeed, the term Dhamma practitioner implies the ability to use wise reflection and to discern the advantages in every situation, to think in such ways, quote, one here, there is happiness, good. Conditions are easy, convenient, smooth. This provides an opportunity to accomplish things to the utmost. Or, there is suffering, good. Conditions are challenging. I need to make great effort. Bring them on. I will proceed undaunted. Factor 3. Independence. Independence or freedom is the goal of Buddhism. True independence is founded on freedom of the heart, mental freedom. A prominent feature of this mental freedom is freedom in relation to happiness. Independence follows on from the first factor of heedfulness, of not being dominated and led astray by happiness. The first factor, however, is one of negation, of countering the urge to indulge, whereas this fourth factor, I think he meant to say this third factor, passes beyond to a level of inner freedom. Those who are spiritually developed are endowed with happiness, but they remain unattached to this happiness. Those who are fully developed experience free, independent happiness, yet are in no way bound or reliant on this happiness. For those individuals still in training, establishing this independence permits them to develop further. 4. Further development. This refers to the recognition that one still needs to make progress in one's spiritual practice. These 4 factors work together in harmony. They lead to supreme happiness and to the complete removal of the source of suffering. One both abides in happiness and develops happiness, and one experiences happiness throughout this entire process of spiritual development. So just to recap these 4 main factors, what Payutto says, these 4 main factors of spiritual practice: heedfulness, taking favorable opportunities, independence, and further development. Kind of following on one of those factors, the taking favorable opportunities, I thought I'd read a sutta that I remembered as I was reading that one. It's kind of one of the all-time classics on that topic of taking favorable opportunities. And it's from the Anguttara Nikaya, Book of the Eights, number 80, on page 1226 of Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation of the Anguttara Nikaya. Bhikkhus, there are these 8 grounds for laziness. What 8? 1. Here, a bhikkhu has to do some work. It occurs to him, I have some work to do. While I'm working, my body will become tired. Let me lie down. He lies down. He does not arouse energy for the attainment of the as yet unattained, for the achievement of the as yet unachieved, for the realization of the as yet unrealized. This is the first ground for laziness. 2. Again, a bhikkhu has done some work. It occurs to him, I've done some work. Because of the work, my body has become tired. Let me lie down. He lies down. He does not arouse energy, etc., for the realization of the as yet unrealized. This is the second ground for laziness. 3. Again, a bhikkhu has to make a trip. It occurs to him, I have to make a trip. While traveling, my body will become tired. Let me lie down. He lies down. He does not arouse energy for the realization of the as yet unrealized. This is the third ground for laziness. Again, a bhikkhu has made a trip. It occurs to him, I've made a trip. While traveling, my body has become tired. Let me lie down. He lies down. He does not arouse energy for the realization of the as yet unrealized. This is the fourth ground for laziness. Again, a bhikkhu has walked for alms in a village or town, but has not gotten as much food as he needs, whether coarse or excellent. It occurs to him, I've walked for alms in the village or town, but didn't get as much food as I need, whether coarse or excellent. My body has become tired and unwieldy. Let me lie down. He lies down. He does not arouse energy for the realization of the as yet unrealized. This is the fifth ground for laziness. Again, a bhikkhu has walked for alms in a village or town and has gotten as much food as he needs, whether coarse or excellent. It occurs to him, I've walked for alms in the village or town and gotten as much food as I need, whether coarse or excellent. My body has become as heavy and unwieldy as a heap of wet beans. Let me lie down. He lies down. He does not arouse energy for the realization of the as yet unrealized. This is the sixth ground for laziness. Again, a bhikkhu is a little ill. It occurs to him, I'm a little ill. I need to lie down. Let me lie down. He lies down. He does not arouse energy for the realization of the as yet unrealized. This is the seventh ground for laziness. Again, a bhikkhu has recovered from an illness. Soon after recovering, it occurs to him, I've recovered from illness. I've just recovered from illness. My body is still weak and unwieldy. Let me lie down. He lies down. He does not arouse energy for the attainment of the as yet unattained, for the achievement of the as yet unachieved, for the realization of the as yet unrealized. This is the eighth ground for laziness. These are the 8 grounds for laziness. Bhikkhus, there are these 8 grounds for arousing energy. What 8? Here, a bhikkhu has some work to do. It occurs to him, I have to do some work. While working, it won't be easy for me to attend to the teachings of the Buddhas. Let me, in advance, arouse energy for the attainment of the as yet unattained, for the achievement of the as yet unachieved, for the realization of the as yet unrealized. He arouses energy for the attainment of the as yet unattained, for the achievement of the as yet unachieved, for the realization of the as yet unrealized. This is the first ground for arousing energy. Again, a bhikkhu has done some work. It occurs to him, I've done some work. While working, it wasn't possible for me to attend to the teachings of the Buddhas. Let me arouse energy. This is the second ground for arousing energy. Again, a bhikkhu has to make a trip. It occurs to him, I have to make a trip. While traveling, it won't be easy for me to attend to the teachings of the Buddha. Let me in advance arouse energy. This is the third ground for arousing energy. Again, a bhikkhu has made a trip. It occurs to him, I've made a trip. While traveling, it wasn't possible for me to attend to the teachings of the Buddhas. Let me arouse energy. This is the fourth ground for arousing energy. Again, a bhikkhu has walked for alms in a village or town, but has not gotten as much food as he needs, whether coarse or excellent. It occurs to him, I've walked for alms in a village or town, but didn't get as much food as I need, whether coarse or excellent. My body is light and wieldy. Let me arouse energy. This is the fifth ground for arousing energy. Again, a bhikkhu has walked for alms in a village or town and has gotten as much food as he needs, whether coarse or excellent. It occurs to him, I've walked for alms in the village or town and gotten as much food as I need, whether coarse or excellent. My body is strong and wieldy. Let me arouse energy. This is the sixth ground for arousing energy. Again, a bhikkhu is a little ill. It occurs to him, I'm a little ill. It's possible that my illness will grow worse. Let me in advance arouse energy. This is the seventh ground for arousing energy. Again, a bhikkhu has recovered from illness. Soon after recovering, it occurs to him, I've recovered from illness, just recovered from illness. It's possible that my illness will return. Let me in advance arouse energy for the attainment as yet unattained, for the achievement of the as yet unachieved, for the realization of the as yet unrealized. He arouses energy for the attainment of the as yet unattained, the achievement of the as yet unachieved, for the realization of the as yet unrealized. This is the eighth ground for arousing energy. These are the 8 grounds for arousing energy. So I thought that was a good example of taking favorable opportunities. So I think in terms of the teachings from Buddhadhamma, I'll leave it at that. But have also, we've got enough time here, I think, to follow up on part of the discussion from our last get-together when Ajahn Karuṇadhammo was doing his reading. The question of original mind came up, and we had some discussion about that, and a recollection that there was a Q&A with Ajahn Chah that referred to that, and I wasn't actually looking for it, but I stumbled upon it when I was flipping through Food for the Heart, chapter 23, in the collected teachings of Ajahn Chah, Food for the Heart. And it's entitled, What is Contemplation? Short series of questions here. The following teaching is taken from a session of questions and answers that took place at Wat Gornor? I don't know how to pronounce it. Gornor. Monastery. It says here Gornork. Gornor. Monastery during the Vasa Rains Retreat of 1979 between Venerable Ajahn Chah and a group of English-speaking disciples. Some rearrangement of the sequence of conversation has been made for ease of understanding. The knowing that arises is above and beyond the process of thinking. It leads to not feeling fooled by thinking anymore. I assume that was a quote from Ajahn Chah. It doesn't quite say that. The knowing that arises is above and beyond the process of thinking. It leads to not being fooled by thinking anymore. Question. When you teach about the value of contemplation, are you speaking of sitting and thinking over particular themes, the 32 parts of the body, for instance? Answer. That is not necessary when the mind is truly still. When tranquility is properly established, the right object of investigation becomes obvious. When contemplation is true, there is no discrimination into right and wrong, good and bad. There is nothing even like that. You don't sit there thinking, oh, this is like that, and that is like this, etc. That is a coarse form of contemplation. Meditative contemplation is not merely a matter of thinking. Rather, it's what we call contemplation in silence. While going about our daily routine, we mindfully consider the real nature of existence through comparisons. This is a coarse kind of investigation, but it leads to the real thing. Question. When you talk about contemplating body and mind, though, do we actually use thinking? Can thinking produce true insight? Is this vipassana? Answer. In the beginning, we need to work using thinking, even though later on we go beyond it. When we are doing true contemplation, all dualistic thinking has ceased, although we need to consider dualistically to get started. Eventually, all thinking and pondering come to an end. Question. You say that there must be sufficient tranquility, samadhi, to contemplate. Just how tranquil do you mean? Answer. Tranquil enough for there to be presence of mind. Do you mean staying with the here and now, not thinking about the past and future? Thinking about the past and future is all right if you understand what those things really are, but you must not get caught up in them. Treat them the same as you would anything else. Don't get caught up. When you see thinking as just thinking, then that's wisdom. Don't believe in any of it. Recognize that all of it is just something that has arisen and will cease. Simply see everything just as it is. It is what it is. The mind is the mind. It's not anything or anybody in itself. Happiness is just happiness. Suffering is just suffering. It is just what it is. When you see this, you will be beyond doubt. Is true contemplating the same as thinking? We use thinking as a tool, but the knowing that arises because of its use is above and beyond the process of thinking. It leads to our not being fooled by our thinking anymore. You recognize that all thinking is merely the movement of the mind, and also that the knowing is not born and doesn't die. What do you think all this movement called mind comes out of? What we talk about as the mind, all the activity, is just the conventional mind. It's not the real mind at all. What is real just is. It's not arising and it's not passing away. Trying to understand these things just by talking about them, though, won't work. We need to really consider impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and impersonality, anicca, dukkha, anatta. That is, we need to use thinking to contemplate the nature of conventional reality. What comes out of this work is wisdom, and if it's real wisdom, everything's completed, finished. We recognize emptiness. Even though there may still be thinking, it's empty. You are not affected by it. How can we arrive at this stage of the real mind? You work with the mind you already have, of course. See that all that arises is uncertain, that there is nothing stable or substantial. See it clearly, and see that there is really nowhere to take a hold of anything. It's all empty. When you see the things that arise in the mind for what they are, you won't have to work with thinking anymore. You will have no doubt whatsoever in these matters. To talk about the, quote, real mind, and so on, may have a relative use in helping us understand. We invent names for the sake of study, but actually, nature is just how it is. For example, sitting here downstairs on the stone floor. The floor is the base. It's not moving or going anywhere. Upstairs, above us, is what has arisen out of this. Upstairs is like everything that we see in our minds: form, feeling, memory, thinking. Really, they don't exist in the way we presume they do. They are merely the conventional mind. As soon as they arise, they pass away again. They don't really exist in themselves. There is a story in the scriptures about Venerable Sariputta examining a bhikkhu before allowing him to go off wandering. He asked him how he would reply if he was questioned, "What happens to the Buddha after he dies?" The bhikkhu replied, "When form, feeling, perception, thinking, and consciousness arise, they pass away." Venerable Sariputta passed him on that. Practice is not just a matter of talking about arising and passing away, though. You must see it for yourself. When you are sitting, simply see what is actually happening. Don't follow anything. Contemplation doesn't mean being caught up in thinking. The contemplative thinking of one on the way is not the same as the thinking of the world. Unless you understand properly what is meant by contemplation, the more you think, the more confused you will become. The reason we make such a point of the cultivation of mindfulness is because we need to see clearly what is going on. We must understand the process of our hearts. When such mindfulness and understanding are present, then everything is taken care of. Why do you think one who knows the way never acts out of anger or delusion? The causes for these things to arise are simply not there. Where would they come from? Mindfulness has got everything covered. Is this the mind you are talking about, called the original mind? What do you mean? It seems as if you are saying there is something else outside the conventional body-mind, the five khandhas. Is there something else? What do you call it? There isn't anything, and we don't call it anything. That's all there is to it. Be finished with all of it. Even the knowing doesn't belong to anybody, so be finished with that too. Consciousness is not an individual, not a being, not a self, not an other, so finish with it. Finish with everything. There is nothing worth wanting. It's all just a load of trouble. When you see clearly like this, then everything is finished. Could we not call it the original mind? You can call it that if you insist. You can call it whatever you like for the sake of conventional reality. But you must understand this point properly. This is very important. If we didn't make use of conventional reality, we wouldn't have any words or concepts with which to consider actual reality, Dhamma. This is very important to understand. What degree of tranquility are you talking about at this stage? And what quality of mindfulness is needed? You don't need to go thinking like that. If you didn't have the right amount of tranquility, you wouldn't be able to deal with these questions at all. You need enough stability and concentration to know what's going on, enough for clarity and understanding to arise. Asking questions like this shows that you are still doubting. You need enough tranquility of mind to no longer get caught in doubting what you are doing. If you had done the practice, you would understand these things. The more you carry on with this sort of questioning, the more confusing you make it. It's all right to talk if the talking helps contemplation, but it won't show you the way things actually are. This Dhamma is not understood because somebody else tells you about it. You must see it for yourself. Paccattāṃ. If you have the quality of understanding that we have been talking about, then we say that your duty to do anything is over. which means that you don't do anything. If there is still something to do, then it's your duty to do it. Simply keep putting everything down and know that that is what you are doing. You don't need to be always checking up on yourself, worrying about things like how much samadhi. It will always be the right amount. Whatever arises in your practice, let it go. Know it all as uncertain, impermanent. Remember that. It's all uncertain. Be finished with all of it. This is the way that will take you to the source, to your original mind.
Bob, were you there for that exchange?
I was not. That was the year that I was on Tudong and spent my Pansamivasa at Dauda. First year I found Dauda. But I went there after the Pansa and went and paid respects to Lompa Cha. Took the owner of the mine that invited me to stay. It was still too wet to be going off on Tudong, so went up and visited. And it's the year that Lake Ajahn Karuṇadhammo was an Anagarika that year. That was his very first. Just arrived.
It's a kind of a dilemma that comes up for me a lot because I feel like I get kind of a lot of mixed messages around kind of the role of letting go and the role of developing. Because when like you read the teachings, it's the Buddha's usually saying things like the path needs to be developed. Like that's the duty associated with the Fourth Noble Truth and develop the Bojjhangas and all that. And then sometimes it seems like there are teachings that say things like, you don't really have to do anything. We just have to keep letting go. And I guess there's just some confusion in my mind about how to reconcile those things. Is the letting go a type of developing? Or do we develop, samadhi, virtue, and then that leads to gradual letting go? Or
the letting go is it is a part of the developing as well, but also one of the things that one has to be paying attention to is just the aspect of suffering. That's the function of the Four Noble Truths, or the use of the Four Noble Truths as a tool is really paying attention to. Because sometimes you pay attention to developing, and you suffer, and sometimes you focus on letting go, and you suffer. So that but there's a balance. This is this sense of the middle way is so important to be reflected on and investigated, because some things require, some aspects of practice require cultivation and development and establishing certain qualities, and in other circumstances and cases, and it requires a relinquishment, a letting go. So they're working together, and that there's an interesting exchange that Ajahn Chah had with Lupo Samedo was somewhat similar, but it was more like in the sense of Dhamma and Vinaya, and saying, and Lupo Samedo was both confused and frustrated by, sometimes we're supposed to be doing this, and other times we're supposed to be doing that. And he said, well, it's like the like Vinaya is all about about doing, about cultivating, or about putting things in place, and Dhamma is all about letting go. And it's only when those work together in harmony that one has an insight into the fruits of the path. So it's an ongoing contemplation, ongoing investigation, how to get that balance.
There's a couple of books actually that are available. One of them is yours, on becoming and stopping.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty good one.
Addresses that subject in several talks. The other one, which is a bit more abstract, is Ajahn Jeff's The Paradox of Becoming. He talks about the use of becoming as a way to stop the becoming. Yours is a little bit more friendly.
If a bhikkhu thinks, today is Wanpra, tonight I will be expected to stay awake until 3 a.m. My body will become tired. Let me lie down. Certainly, he will lose an opportunity to develop energy, but what's the right measure?
A lot of it, again, it's this sense of balance. Because so often, what tires us out the most is thinking and worrying. I mean, that really tires us out. That speculation, it's really tiring.
Seems to me in that sutta is directly advocating to develop desire for the as yet unarisen. So is that another way of saying nibbana, or can it be other kinds of?
Well, I think it's sort of all, sort of like all of the above, in the sense that all of the, yes, I mean, it is nibbana in the ultimate sense, but also along the way there's all the other fruits of the path, well-being, clarity, peace. All of those are you're realizing the unrealized and achieving the unachieved.
Yeah, in a sense, almost any wholesome quality.
Yeah, I would think any wholesome quality, whatever it is.
Yeah, coming back to letting go and developing, also, it's like, to develop something, you do have to let go. You have to let go of what you want to be doing sometimes in order to learn a chant or anything, develop something. Then, so that in that sense, developing, letting go are sort of working together.
Yeah.
Or to hold the Vinaya, you have to let go of your preferences.